As we already reported on and talked about in the news segment, there was a tournament recently where players participated with self-built civilizations. And since I not only found the tournament very entertaining, but also had fun with the Civ-Builder myself, I wanted to take this month's magazine's spotlight as an opportunity to go more in depth with both of those topics. And who would be a better guest for this than the tournament's host himself, Travis, or probably better known as T-West. Hello, welcome, and thanks for being here.
Hey, hello. Hope you enjoyed the tournament, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I enjoyed it really much. We'll get into that later, or in a few minutes rather. But before we get into everything Civ-Builder related, I just need to use the chance of having you on the podcast to talk about a few other things related to you and your content. Because I think a lot of people, including me, found you on YouTube beating campaigns without a single fight. Why does one start up a strategy game, a war game, as MBL likes to point out, and goes, yeah, I want to do this without fighting?
Well, it was inspired from perhaps even more extreme Doom pacifist runs. There was a speedrunning category where you would beat the levels without more extreme than me, without even harming any of the enemies. And I thought, that'd be a fun thing to do in Age of Empires 2. And the natural way to measure it turned out just on the achievement screen to get 0 kills, and just kind of went from there. It was a fun speedrunning category I'd seen in another game. That's kind of how I design a lot of, that's where ideas from a lot of different types of content I make comes from. I see ideas in other games, and I think, how does that work in AoE 2? And try to make entertaining videos about it.
All right. Are there any plans to continue the pacifist runs?
I'm hoping to get some more done this summer. I want to get a few more done before Age of Mythology comes out, but it's kind of as you get better at video editing, now you have higher standards for your own quality, and it takes more work. so the initial videos I made in like 2 days now might take me a week or two to edit the way I'm content with them now. So it's a lot more work now, and I'm happy with it though. But the plan is to do a few more and hopefully get them released over the summer.
Are there certain campaigns you want to try out?
There are a few. There's even a campaign from Age of Empires 1 I want to include. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, yeah, I'm very interested to see what's going to come then, because I always found those videos very funny, and I just like to see people experimenting with those things and figure out how this is even possible. It sounds so, just weird to me how this works, and as I said, a war game, but it's nice to see you figure that out.
That's not necessarily a war game, right? You can build wonders, you can trade and sling resources, you can capture relics. There's non-war stuff to do, right? True.
Anyways, in campaigns, I mean, it's mostly a war game, right? We have a series for our supporters where we play a campaign, and currently we're playing the Kamele campaign, and my colleague is also, for every episode, giving a bit of historic context for the campaigns and the mission, and Tamerlane was just so violent. So in case you want to try that out, it seems to be pretty hard.
He's a pretty good pacifist, I'd say. Well, lots of really good pacifists like Genghis Khan and Attila the Hun in Age of Empires, so it's a good theme for them.
Yeah, Genghis Khan and Attila you already did, I saw.
Yeah, I've done all the original campaigns. We're down to only one kill in all of them, so we've made quite a bit of progress.
Also, one more question before we go onto the Civ-Builder. I saw on Wikipedia that there is a game listed as one of your favorite matches to cast ever. And that game is MBL versus Viper in Masters of Arena 3.
Oh, I've seen that on Wikipedia. The funny thing is, I've never actually casted that. I just watched a video years ago. I've never actually casted that game. Girl, never trust stuff that's on a wiki. That was one of those. It was, if I recall, it was like Celts versus Britons, and Viper had won the game with longbows, and MBL never had a siege onager shot until eventually he managed to kill all of the longbows at once with one big siege onager shot. It was the biggest SO shot I'd ever seen. But yeah, never cast that. As I said, don't trust the wikis.
That's very funny. So we now have the big reveal here that Wikipedia is wrong. Gotta tell that to Nelly.
Yeah. Check AoE Zone. That's where you get the real facts.
Oh yeah, true, certainly. But now let's talk about your own tournament, the Civ-Builder Free-for-All, and how it came to be. For me, everything started with a Spirit of the Law video, where he presented the new version of Krakenmeister's Civ-Builder. After watching that, I started to play around with the tool myself, and later heard about the tournament. I kinda knew it was a thing earlier, but never had any direct contact with the tool until now. What's your history with the Civ-Builder?
I guess a couple of years ago, we had done an event. Krakenmeister had made his tool and done a couple of show matches with it. And then I wanted to expand it a bit and did a free-for-all tournament. And then recently, as more DLCs came out, the tool kind of broke and he needed to do some updates to it. And I talked to him at the Hidden Cup meetup a couple months ago about updating the tool and planning a tournament. So we kind of threw this together really quick, starting in May. We had started to begin talking about doing another tournament, and as he was updating the tool, and we threw this together. And that's it. I wanted to do a bit bigger than last time, involve more people. We got, I think, 64 people involved playing it this time, and we hit a prize pool of like 1.6K, which was larger than I was expecting, and it's a pretty nice amount of funding for just kind of this random event we had thrown together for this custom Civ tool that people seem to enjoy.
Yeah, it really worked out quite well for you. And I was very happy to see that, because I also took a bit of interest in the Civ Builder and tried to experiment with it, get a few interesting Civs out. And as soon as I heard there was a tournament with it, I just thought that's going to be so awesome. Just all the broken units we're going to see. And I think I at least did not get disappointed. But before the tournament, did you create a lot of Civs on your own? And what were your first ideas?
I actually have not created a Civ. I spent so much time organizing the tournament. I did not play around with the Civ builder itself. That was for everyone else to do. So I was completely surprised when I went in, which was kind of nice. The Shakram throwers seemed to be pretty insane.
Yeah,
I think my favorite Civ was the Flaming Camel King Snipe Civ, though. I think that one was the best. I really liked
for me
that
as well. That was the first game I saw of the tournament. I had to rewatch some of the others later, and I was immediately hyped by seeing that Civ, because you presented all of the Civs going around at the start of the game, and I thought to myself, well, that can't be too good. I mean, flaming camels, we know those don't too much, and he started to run around with hundreds of them, and everything exploded.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about the free-for-alls. Like, you get 30 to 60 minutes into the game, and you've just kind of been booming without fighting, and all of a sudden you have the eco to pump out whatever unit you want. And then I guess the unit you want sometimes is a flaming camel. When you look at the tech tree at the start and you see, like extra movement speed or extra blast radius, and you don't really get to understand what that is until you see him in action and you see the camels destroying Mangudai.
Some of the people certainly took a lot of time to experiment, because some of those combinations didn't look like ones you just think about going into the tool and going, oh yeah, that must be strong. But combinations that you figure out while having already sunk hours into it, or going to the game, testing it all over again, and then you end up with exploding camels, which just isn't what you think about when you start up the Civ Builder. At least for me, I went in there and thought to myself, well, infantry isn't very good, but there are a lot of very strong infantry bonuses. You just never see them all together. And then I started to, just crank up all the infantry bonuses, put them all in one Civ, and just look what happens. And what happens is a really broken infantry, which kills everything and just doesn't die. And we saw a bit of that as well.
Yeah, people realized that the Shakram thrower counted as infantry and all those bonuses applied to it. And then they were really good against Karambit warriors, I have to say. That was that was quite the highlight.
Yeah, I saw that last game, the finals, and so many dead Karambits. That was kind of funny and also kind of sad to see them just fall apart and not doing anything to those Shakrams. The Shakram throwers were a unit that completely surprised me. Did you think of that beforehand?
I had an idea that they'd be good, but like I said, I hadn't experimented with any of the civs ahead of time. I had heard there was one bonus that I think had gotten banned that was like siege towers fired arrows, and there was some type of chakram thrower plus siege tower combination that might have been even stronger. So I had heard rumors about them, but I didn't see the full impact and potency of those little frisbees until it hit me while I was casting.
You just mentioned that some bonuses just were banned right from the start. And as I already mentioned, the possibilities of this tool are just endless. And I think they are also potentially endlessly broken. So what
definitely.
rules did you think about to, at least prevent the most overpowered combinations?
Well, I guess at the start, the tech tree has a limit in the number of points you can have. So there's 275 points. But if you're going the approach of stacking all of the bonuses on one unit line, I don't think that really limits you too much, especially if you're going for a unique unit.
That just doesn't matter at the end, right? You only build one unit anyways.
Yeah. What we did have was there was a limit of, I think it was 6 bonuses, and there were tiers that the bonuses could be. I didn't really do that, but I know some people were testing and giving feedback ahead of time to Krakenmeister. There were, like, from tier 1 to 5, we allowed you to take one tier 3 bonus and any number of tier 1 and 2 bonuses. And, well, people discovered there are some really good infantry bonuses there, as you mentioned. It's lots of infantry civs, right, that you might not think about, because the champion line tends to be the joke of a bunch of Reddit posts that it's not used enough. But when you stack those infantry bonuses together for your unique units, you can get something really special.
It's just that the infantry line has so many bonuses that would be completely broken on other units, just having one of them. But you never see those bonuses together on the infantry. And now we can. And the result is just insane.
Yes.
The neat part was those infantry chakram throwing civilizations also having extremely strong helps, because, those are infantry as well.
Right, those synergize pretty well. And we saw that in, I think it was that hyper-random game, where we had basically a 1v3 situation going on for several hours of game time.
Yeah.
Which was just
that was crazy.
Halves and chakrams against elephants and whatever other units the other two players had.
I think there is also a team bonus in the tool that gives infantry bonus damage against elephants, which those chakram throwers had. Yeah,
there are a couple of custom bonuses in there, and that was that was a good one, because without that bonus, at least the elephants somewhat counter the chakram throwers because of all their HP and because they had range. But with that bonus, there wasn't really much stopping them. I mean, they even kill siege onagers, and they're microed fast enough they can dodge the shots that you wonder what the actual counter to them is.
Not much. I think those chakram throwers don't have really a counter in one unit, right? Except maybe siege onagers or something, but chakrams are still pretty fast, and with all their damage, I think they mostly had Garland Wars on them. They even one-shot the siege onagers, so this unit just won so many games. And I think probably the objectively best unit for those settings, right?
It seemed to be what everyone came to regard as the best. I mean, who knows if maybe now in hindsight people would come with a counter to it, right? Or if we change what bonuses are allowed, then maybe someone comes up with an even stronger unit, like maybe those organ guns we had seen in the first edition, where there was, I think, +1 attack for gunpowder units per university tech, which was outlawed this time.
Oh, yeah.
That was I still have nightmares about those Formula 1 organ guns racing around the map and mowing down champions. But yeah, that's part of the fun of it, right? You stack all these bonuses and you end up with a unit that is stronger than you'd ever have in an actual game. Everyone also seemed to love that reduced frame delay on the Mangudai, which they already have a really small frame delay, but getting them even closer to that AOC version, where they felt so buttery smooth to micro and shoot and run and shoot and run. It's a lot of fun to play with units when you can stack them like that. I think we had seen that also in the that Mangudai Madness custom scenario, where you started stacking recurve bow and other bonuses on top of the Mangudai, where even with the pathfinding problems, that was still a fun micro setup. And,
Yeah, true.
Civ-Builder can kind of hit that same little niche of here's one of your favorite units. Now go make it even stronger.
There was a moment where I just thought, well, luckily those chakrams don't get ballistics. That's the one upgrade they would be missing. Are there any other units or combinations that especially spoke out to you or that you like to talk about? For me, there was one civilization that I really found interesting in a way that it differentiated to all the others, and that was Sadness's Civ, because it had no power unit. It just had really strong buildings and villagers, and I could not figure out what was his game plan, because he played really defensively, which fit his Civ, but it did not seem like he could ever push one of those other units.
Yeah, it felt like he was eventually just counting on trash spam at some point, but that was something that was, I didn't really see a power unit there, like you mentioned. He still played the game in, sometimes the free-for-all isn't about your Civ, but it's about how well you can type in the text chat and how well you can convince other people not to attack you. So he survived a long time, made it to the top 4 and made it past the restore even. The good old 30 minutes to restore the game that it took us. But sometimes it's not about the Civ. Sometimes it's just about how well can you convince people that they should kill you. And he did a good job of that.
That's another aspect, because as you already mentioned, the settings were free for all. So everyone is playing against everyone else. Diplomacy is not activated. So you can build teams, but not really lock those in. You can agree in text chat not to attack each other, but if your units stand next to each other, they are going to do it anyways. And
you gotta use your no attack stance.
Yeah. Why did you decide on free for all as a setting? Just because the first tournament already was free for all, or were there other reasons?
It just let us involve a whole bunch of different players while having them each design an individual Civ. If you do a team game, then you start to see that you get a different set of design rules where you have to synergize between Civs altogether. And I think it was simpler for us to get this many players involved where they each could design their own Civ and didn't need as many complicated communications among teams. It also makes it a bit easier to schedule too, if you have individuals signing up for time slots. So just kind of logistics of designing Civs and submitting them, I think was a bit easier to get the scale of number of players that we had while doing it via free-for-all.
Yeah, I also found that the settings helped to show the civilizations, because if you would have played, let's say 1v1 or something, it's never going to go that late into the game and no one has the time to mass like hundreds of karambits or
exactly
that mass of chakrams. Whereas free-for-all just forces the game to go late because you can almost never just immediately kick someone out of it.
Exactly. We had a couple of early king snipes that took out interesting Civs. I think in the first game there was a missionary plus war wagon Civ that I would have been really interested in seeing. But yeah, for the most part, I think the 3-ville start gives us time to look at all the Civs in the beginning, and then it gives players time to boom and show off their Civs in the late game.
And then there are cases where it goes really late.
Yes.
It was really surprising to me that in a regicide free-for-all, it can go that late. But yeah, it's just the units which some of them don't die, others basically don't cost anything. And there also were some Civs with a really crazy eco. I remember one civilization having those 2x2 farms. That was interesting as well.
Yeah, it's the good old bonus from the Realms mod from years ago. 2x2 farms, and there's a lot of farming bonuses you can stack, like 2x2 plus Chimera drop-off plus Folvark area. It's almost like infantry bonuses. You can stack all the farms and have the most insane food eco you can imagine. And probably end up spending a ton of wood on them too, but...
Then the Sicilian bonus on top of that, and you immediately get a lot of food from
Chinese
every
team
farm.
bonus too.
Yeah. But then the Chakram throwers come and you don't have a single good unit to beat them.
Yeah, and you don't. But you have farms, and the farms are sometimes what counts.
did a single economic civilization win one of those free-for-alls? Because I can't remember, so.
It was mostly the Chakram civs, but sometimes those civs still had an eco bonus or two added in. We did see civs that just kind of won based on the player bank of resources at the end. I don't know if that was due to resource bonuses, or rather player management of the free-for-all and deciding when and when not to attack and when not to spend resources. I think that mattered a bit more in the long run, that strategy aspect, rather than the eco bonuses.
Yeah, true. The free-for-all strategy is really a thing in its own. How content are you with how the diplomacy aspect of the free-for-all influenced the matches?
I'm really happy with that. I think we saw some good teams and allegiances swapping back and forth. Some good lying in the chat and players attempting to betray each other, which is always good.
Yeah, I remember a few, I don't have eco, I don't have units.
Or, yes, I am attacking him. We're fighting, we're stalemated here.
Yeah, it's really funny. Free-for-all just are another really special thing in the game. And I often think like the idea of playing a free-for-all is better than actually playing it. But in this case, it just really was actually good content, seeing those units and civs clash.
Yeah, people seem to really have enjoyed it, so I'm happy with how it went.
Yeah. But did you expect the matches to last that long?
When we made the settings free for all, I was expecting it. I was definitely expecting that. I was at one point I was worried I might be doing 3 12-hour streams that weekend, but at least it was only 6, 9.5, and 6.
Yeah, I heard you talk about trying to work on that for the next time to produce maybe slightly shorter matches. Do you already have ideas for that?
Well, the first one we had done King of the Hill, but we didn't want to do that again because it felt like you could just stack so much elephant HP that there was no way to wrestle control from a player even in a 1v7. So, I don't know. We've had some ideas of allowing Relic or Wonder victories, or maybe doing some type of like delayed battle royale where we might play for 2 hours and then start a battle royale countdown for 2 hours to slowly shrink the map. I don't think that's possible in the game right now, but something we might look towards in the future. Just throwing some ideas out there. I know there are some free-for-all communities who have their own rule sets or other ways of playing the games that we can look to as well. But at least for this event, I think it worked out pretty well. Next time, I don't think we're going to have quite as long of a setup for all these games.
So I thought Wonder Victory would actually be nice for the settings, because I really felt with that one player going a 1 versus 3 for, what was it, 2 hours? 3 maybe, just to then lose. And I really thought, well, maybe he deserved the win there. And with a Wonder in the back of his base, maybe that would have been possible.
That's also down to the free-for-all diplomacy aspect, right? If you're in that 1v3, you probably had a chance to convince the other people not to attack you or to ally against each other earlier in the game. And you also had that chance, what was it, Timberhawk Vondi? He almost killed Green early on, but he left the king alive. And if it's only a 2v1 instead of a 3v1, then maybe the outcome is different. So took him a long time before the outcome came back to haunt him, but eventually it did.
Yeah, that just was a really crazy game. And then the elephants of Panchita finishing it off. And in the last game, Panchita returning with, what else? Shakram-Throwers.
It's Shakram-Throwers, yep. And he designed his civs in like 2 hours because he was the last minute replacement player when some other players had hopped off. And I remember him messaging me that he was disappointed Drazina didn't work for the Shakram-Throwers. And he just threw those 2 civs together, and they ended up being really nice civs.
Yeah, they really did. Are there any combinations you expected to see more of, or any unit you thought would be really strong, and it just didn't show up?
We'd seen a couple players go for the latest, where I think ignoring armor can be a good bonus with how many armor bonuses there are that can stack on different types of units. But I think the mobility and speed of the Chakrams or of the Mangudai, or just the tankiness of Elephant Archers ended up winning at the end of the day.
Yeah, true. Latest are really strong, but there are not that many bonuses which would give cavalry more attack or more armor. It's just that infantry has so many of them. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then you have some units like the Latus or the Cataphract or even the Mangudai, where the Civ itself already has a bonus for them, like either unique tech or like the Mongols' faster firing cav archers, and you're kind of using an extra bonus if you're trying to stack that on top of the existing unit, because you need to get back to the point where the unit was initially. And that's maybe something in favor of the Chakrams, where you're really just stacking infantry bonuses on top of them that they don't have, or even blacksmith techs, because they're balanced around not having blast furnace. And even just an extra 2 attack there makes a huge difference.
Yeah, that's true. Some of the good units in the base game are that strong because of their Civ bonus, which you'd need to pick again to make them even stronger.
Right.
It's a good point. Now, what about the maps? How did you pick out those? I mean, they turned out to be really good for the settings as well, obviously, because they produced very long games to show off the Civs, but also I thought they were, just good for free-for-alls. How did you decide on them?
Yeah, well, that was fun because I was able to do some map scripting streams while I made them. That was just, we sat down in a chat with, I think I had Ornlu and Paradox and Grothrang and a couple of other people. I think Robo might have had some input, and Zetnus had some input, and just asked what type of maps they thought would work good for free-for-alls, and we came up with 9 that we felt confident in. I liked ending with Fortress because that felt like a classic map that also let you use the unique units. Otherwise, I was pretty happy with the maps we had. I'm not sure about hyper random because that's kind of a hard one to design a Civ for. And if we make it too random, then it probably doesn't work for a Civ builder. And maybe the one we had wasn't random enough. I'll need to reconsider that. Otherwise, City Ruins is a map I absolutely love for free for alls, and I think it was in a map scripting contest a few years ago by Gentle, and I really love how it works with the Gaia city in the middle of the map. I think that makes it a really unique one. Otherwise, it was just good. I think Golden Lakes and Acropolis, we had ways of inspiring conflict between players in the corners by putting the lakes or resources in the corners immediately, and then shifting focus to other areas of the map as the game drags out, as resources are taken and locations shift around. A couple of nomad starts like African Clearing give you a chance to showcase different bonuses. And then a couple of other closed maps like Amazon Tunnel as well. Each map, I think, had a different focus on how you want to build the Civ. I don't know if that actually came out and showed in the Civs themselves when it was just how do you build the most OP Chakram thrower. But I think the map pool as a whole was fun to put together. And it's much easier when it's a free-for-all and I don't need to be as precise with resource positioning as I would in like a 1v1 tournament when we did Hidden Cup.
Yeah, I thought the most fitting Civ for a certain map was maybe Sadness's Civ, with the focus on defense and strong buildings on Amazon Tunnel.
Yeah, it was an interesting design because it didn't really have that one power unit. But maybe that could be like a free-for-all technique too. Just design a Civ that actually looks weak so people don't fear you and they just leave you alone.
Yeah, it certainly worked out. After this event, are you content with how everything went, according to the game itself, the diplomacy, the viewer numbers?
Yep, I'm pretty happy with how everything went. The only real disappointing part was that save and restore we had to do during the Amazon Tunnel game. Other than that, I think everything went pretty smoothly. We were able to get players added in as replacements if players dropped out. We had just about the perfect number of signups to get 8 players for each game, which I was happy with. And I think everyone who had signed up ended up getting to participate in the end anyway, which is great.
Very nice. And after that, do you have any more plans? Things you could do with the Civ-Builder? More tournaments or another form of content?
I'd like to do another free-for-all event. Not probably going to wait a bit. I don't want to do it like back to back to back to back. I think that might get a bit fatiguing. But at some point in the future, maybe later this year, maybe next year, we'll definitely be back with the format. Whether it's a free-for-all, maybe some type of team game event or a 1v1 event. Not entirely sure. We need to figure out what the scope of an event is that people would be interested in. But I do think people really like the free-for-all. And as I said, there are free-for-all communities out there that do like this type of event. And I don't think there have been too many free-for-all events recently. There have been some in the past with, I think T90 had the Regicide Rumble and Nilly had the King of the Hippo. But it was kind of a nice, more unique twist on free-for-all that I think filled a category that was unused in recent history. We've had a lot of 1v1 tournaments over the past year, kind of back to back to back. So it was a nice change of pace and something that we could do that doesn't really interfere with other events because it's only one weekend. So it's nice. It's a nice, quick, targeted event to bring the community together around.
Yeah, that's true. And that's also all of my questions. And so thank you for joining me for this interview and for all the insights. If you have anything to announce or share with our listeners, this is the time to do so. And we'll, of course, link your Twitch and YouTube channels in the description of the episode.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on. I think the announcement would be, as I said earlier, keep an eye out this summer for more pacifist runs on the YouTube channel. And thanks for having me on, and glad you enjoyed all of the Chakram Thrower mayhem.
Yeah, which is also my name, so double funny.
Yep, I totally did that on purpose.
Thanks for being here, and thanks for answering all of my questions. It was nice having you here.
Of course. See you later.